Imagine, on your 15th birthday, you're not blowing out candles or laughing with friends, but instead surrounded by 6 strange women. They point at your face, call you ungrateful, accuse you of being an unbeliever. And all of that, not because of your mistakes, but because of the lies told by your own grandmother. That was the beginning of a story they never imagined. The story of Clara, a mother who had to protect her 2 daughters, Anna and Maya, from slander, betrayal, and manipulation by her own family. Clara, a 46-year-old woman, lives in a small town steeped in old traditions and a rigid church community. Since she was young, Clara has been accustomed to working hard. She is the backbone of her family, ensuring that her 2 daughters, 17-year-old Anna and 15-year-old Maya, never lack for love or necessities. Her husband, Daniel, is a man who many people see as respectable. He is handsome, charismatic, and good at winning people over. But behind that sweet smile, Daniel hides a deadly secret. That secret is named Sophia, a young woman who is his secret lover. From this forbidden relationship, 2 baby boys were born, Leo and Noah, 2 innocent children who became tangible evidence of betrayal. When Clara discovered the truth, her world fell apart. But she did not give up. She chose divorce, determined to free herself from a marriage full of lies. Unfortunately, fate moved quickly. Before the divorce proceedings were finalized, Daniel died in a tragic accident. Soon after, Sophia followed, leaving behind a bitter legacy, 2 orphaned babies, and a family torn apart. Instead of supporting Clara and her 2 grandchildren, Daniel's parents, Margaret and Edward, only added to the pain. Margaret, an 80-year-old stubborn woman, and Edward, her 78-year-old husband, not only refused to see the truth, but also supported their son's affair from the start. In fact, they blamed Clara for Daniel's death. Worse still, they sent messages to Anna and Maya, calling them illegitimate children and blaming the 2 girls for exposing their father's affair. Imagine how Anna and Maya felt. They had just lost their father, but instead they were blamed. They were just trying to breathe again, but were trampled on by their own family. Not content with that, Margaret began writing a manipulative story on the church's Facebook group. She accused Clara of neglecting her elderly in-laws, refusing to accept 2 boys who she said were the result of surrogacy, not an affair. In the story, Clara was portrayed as cold, evil, and selfish. And the church community, known for being conservative, rigid, and easily provoked, swallowed the story whole. Until Market Day arrived. It was supposed to be a simple day, full of small joys. Clara gave Maya some money to shop as she pleased to celebrate her birthday. Maya ran from stall to stall, buying chocolate, candy, and small cakes. A smile never left her face, until she was surrounded by 6 women from the church. Mrs. Thompson, Mrs. Green, Mrs. Ellis, Mrs. Carter, Mrs. Hughes, and Mrs. Foster. 6 figures who to many people might seem like ordinary mothers, but to Maya that afternoon they were terrifying specters. In loud voices, they accused her of being a disobedient child, of rejecting her grandparents, of rejecting her 2 unfortunate younger brothers. Maya burst into tears. Her crying made Clara run over, breathless. In front of everyone, Clara stood up to protect her daughter. She yelled, challenged them, fought back. The market, which had been bustling with colorful vegetables and laughter, turned into a battlefield. Vendors stopped serving customers, visitors stopped walking, all eyes were on Clara and the group of women. Finally, their voices grew so loud that the market manager asked everyone to leave. Clara gripped Maya's trembling hand, called Anna, and led them away, but the 6 women followed them like a flock of vultures. Sunday arrived. The church stood gracefully, filled with congregants dressed in their finest clothes. The faint smell of incense hung in the air, and soft organ music echoed throughout the building. And on the back table, among the hymnals, the binders were tucked away. Soon, someone opened them. Then a small whisper was heard. The whisper turned into a murmur. The murmur turned into a shout. Photos, messages, evidence, everything was passed from hand to hand. The congregation that had previously praised Margaret now looked at her with disgust. The names Daniel and Sophia were mentioned with harsh words. Even Pastor Williams himself could not stop the wave of anger. Margaret and Edward stood in the corner, their faces pale. The congregation accused, blamed, and condemned. Clara? She just sat quietly, calmly, with her 2 daughters by her side. And even though some people still accused Clara of being at fault for intending to divorce, they began to understand. Apology letters arrived, specifically for Anna and Maya, invitations for Clara to return to church as a sign of support. But Margaret could no longer save face. She wrote on Facebook, lamenting how the world had abandoned her, how her noble son was gone, how elderly parents were no longer respected. But the truth was clear. She had been expelled, humiliated, punished by the truth she had been trying to hide all this time. In the end, Clara won. Not with violence, not with shouting, but with evidence, courage, and love for her 2 daughters. That night, after Maya fell asleep with swollen eyes from crying, Clara sat alone in the living room. The lights were dim. Only the sound of the clock on the wall could be heard. And on the table lay an open box containing a dark past. Photos of Daniel with Sophia, romantic text messages, notes about the affair, and evidence of Margaret and Edward's support. Tears streamed down Clara's cheeks. But behind those tears, her eyes shone with something different: determination. She knew this battle could no longer be avoided. The next day, Clara took all the evidence to a printing shop. She didn't just print it out. She wrapped it neatly, bound it in a beautiful binder that looked like a church songbook. The binder was simple, with a clean white cover and small writing on the front, as if it contained prayers. But when opened, the first page displayed a photo of Daniel kissing Sophia in the family living room. Below it was written, "The love story of Daniel and Sophia." A slap, cold and hard. Clara prepared dozens of binders. She knew that it would only take one to be opened in the hands of the congregation, and the truth would run faster than lies. And that night, when everything had calmed down, Clara looked at Anna and Maya sleeping peacefully. She knew they still had a long way to go, and the wounds were still there, but at least that day, they had won. Sometimes justice doesn't come through judges or police. Sometimes justice comes through a mother who chooses to never give up.